Vibrant viewers, on this week's Healthy Living, in part 1 of a 2-part series, we'll learn some of the key principles of diet and nutrition from Dr. Jay Sutliff of Chadron State College, Nebraska, USA. Dr. Sutliff is a registered dietitian with a background in health education and public health. He is a popular speaker at health expos and conferences and is an advocate of the vegan lifestyle. Given the seemingly endless array of food choices, some feel it is a challenge to know which are truly the foods that can keep our bodies strong and full of energy. Dr. Sutliff first discusses the C-reactive protein level as an indicator of health status and why this measure shows that always selecting natural, plant-based foods is vital to keeping healthy and active.
The C-reactive protein is a protein made in the liver in response to inflammatory conditions in the body. It's a better indicator than even cholesterol to see the likelihood or the possibility of us having a cardiovascular event. And so the C-reactive protein is measuring how much inflammation we have actually within the arteries. And so when we have this checked, what we see is if there's an elevated condition, what we can do is we can change lifestyle factors to actually bring the C-reactive protein level down and bring our inflammation down. Now, inflammation is also synonymous with cancer, diabetes, any of the arthritic conditions, because when we become inflamed internally, it starts narrowing off the blood flow in the body. In some of the clinical studies that we're currently doing with some colleagues of mine, we're actually looking at using a plant-based lifestyle to lower the C-reactive protein. In our preliminary findings right now, we're finding that the plant-based lifestyle is a major benefit in bringing the C-reactive protein down in the short term, even as little as 2 and 3 weeks. When we take in an animal-based protein diet, we're finding that a lot of the sulfur-containing amino acids are causing an inflammatory response in the body. When you eat foods of plant origin that have plant proteins, they're typically very low in sulfur-containing amino acids, and so automatically that's starting to help reduce the amount of inflammation within the arteries.
Dr. Sutliff now describes the importance of keeping steady blood glucose or sugar levels, our body's primary source of energy. An improper diet often pushes the amount of blood sugar out of normal range, possibly leading to serious chronic conditions like diabetes, a disease that can cause kidney failure, blindness, and necessitate limb amputations.
Now, the key is how can we get it to stabilize and so it's not bouncing up and down. The best way to do it is to eat unrefined plant-based products called carbohydrates. And so what we find is that when we eat plenty of fiber and we eat the food in its natural state, that we'll have smooth blood sugar levels and not spiking and bottoming out. The other thing we want to do is we want to make sure that every day that we're stimulating the muscles. We're stimulating the muscles because the muscles will then be able to absorb or regulate our blood sugar levels at a more even pace. And so we find that diabetics a lot of times too are inactive and they tend to gain weight, and we all tend to seem to be less active as we age. So the diabetics especially need to make sure that they're including not only aerobic exercise, but they're also doing resistance training where they're actually stimulating the muscles to actually take up more of the glucose so the muscles become like sponges after they've been exercised, so that they actually take up the glucose more readily and metabolize the glucose in the cell.
Many who suffer from mood swings seldom think of their possible link to dietary intake and blood glucose levels.
A lot of times when people are eating a lot of refined foods, especially processed carbohydrates, a lot of packaged foods, we're finding is that really raises havoc with the blood sugar levels. And a lot of times it starts out right away in the morning. If we eat a rushed breakfast that's very low in fiber, the blood sugar may rise up dramatically with a corresponding response where it starts coming down dramatically when insulin is released and the glucose levels start to drop in the blood. And then the body says, eat something, so that we go and we eat. If we eat some more processed foods, low in fiber, and we start this process all day long, and that directly affects our moods And a lot of times we have mood swings depending upon where our blood sugars are at, and it's really taking us more on a roller coaster ride throughout the day, and it's based upon that we're eating too many processed foods, especially when we start out that way in the morning. So what I recommend that people do is they start out the day eating some good fruit and just eating fresh fruit, and if they can't have that, then maybe some frozen fruit, maybe putting it in the blender and using some bananas and different things, maybe making a smoothie of that nature, eating some whole grain cereals, or I've even seen in some situations where we've been working with patients that are diabetics, we'll actually put them on a diet where we include legumes, like some beans right away in the morning.
We'll soon be back to learn about how our arteries deteriorate over time when we consume animal products. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television.